So you're known for your supernatural characters. You have your vampires, witches, ghosts, now your werewolves, and then also there's Jesus. Do you consider him to be as mythical and magical a character as your supernatural characters?
Oh, definitely. I saw him entirely as a supernatural character, as God and man,
Right.
walking around on the earth, unable really to reveal his full nature to anybody as he was growing up. And for me, that was extremely exciting to write about, to try to write about his sort of secret thoughts in life.
What do you think of the new Pope Francis? He was asked what he thinks of gay priests, and he said that we have to accept them as our brothers, and he's sort of taking the who are we to judge stance. Do you think that's genuine, or is that just smart PR?
No, I think Francis is genuine, and I think he's wonderful. Now, he hasn't changed any dogma or doctrine yet, and he may not, but he is really radically changing the tone. And it's a wonderful thing. I think he's bringing people back to Catholicism who've been alienated and embittered by the church for a long time. I think it's great.
Is he bringing you back?
No, I don't think I would ever go back to organized religion in any form, but I have a great love for my old fellow Catholics and Catholic relatives, and I think Francis is terrific for the church. Let's see what happens. The implications of what he's doing in the United States in particular are huge. He's really upsetting the conservative neocons in the church, and I think that's great.
Do you think that Catholicism has to accept homosexuality if it wants to survive?
Of course, and I think all organized religion eventually will.
Right.
I mean, I know how theology is written. I've read enough of it to know how it's written, and they can write a theology right now to accept homosexuality. I could tell you in detail how they could do it. I mean, they will go back to Scripture and they will reinterpret the passages in light of what we know today psychologically and medically and morally about people and human rights. And they will they've been doing this for 2,000 years. Right. I mean, Christianity today is not what it was in 1000 AD. They've rewritten the whole role of women. Right. They've rewritten the value of children. Children are no longer chattel to Christians. They used to be. I mean, they will change. They have to. I mean, I don't know that I'll be alive to see it, but I think you will.
Homosexuality has been in your work really since the beginning, whether you meant for it to be or not. Do you think that when you've intentionally put it there, or maybe even when you subconsciously put it there, is it a sort of rebellion against your religious upbringing?
I don't know. I think the attitude I have toward sexuality and toward gender, those attitudes are so deeply rooted, I'm not sure that they have anything to do with my upbringing. God knows people were brought up all around me who have very different attitudes toward those things. I just never really got the whole religious obsession with sex being as evil as murder or genocide. The idea that for kissing we're going to go to hell along with Hitler. That idea always seemed ridiculous to me as a person. And I was always fascinated by gender ambiguity. Again, I don't know why other people aren't fascinated by it. When you grow up in the world of nuns and priests, you see a lot of gender ambiguity.
Mm-hmm. There's two queer characters in the Wolf Gift Chronicles. There's Stuart, the young teen wolf, and then Lisa, this new character in the Wolves of Midwinter. She's kind of gender ambiguous. Is she a woman? Is she a man? Does it matter? Right. It's fantastic. What was the inspiration behind these characters?
This always happens in my fiction. I don't know why. Obviously, I love to play with transcending gender. And I love to play with the idea that strong and powerful characters don't care about gender, that love transcends gender completely. And I don't even have to think about it when I start writing a book. It's just going to happen. There's going to be a gay character like Stuart in the book. There's going to be somebody like Margon the Godless who wants to sleep with Stuart. Right. And there's going to be somebody like Lisa, a mystery.
Now, you said that you created the main werewolf, Reuben, in the image of Matt Bomer, and I'm with you on that one, girl. I call him Matt Boner in my dreams. Do you create characters to fulfill a fantasy or a need within you?
I'm sure it works that way. When I sit down to write, I want to enjoy it to the hilt. I want to write about what feels most important to me, what's most intense, and I'm not one of those writers who's driven by criticism to write. I don't write about what angers me and makes me furious. I write about what I love. Right. So yes, those characters are fantasy characters very often.
when you're working on a series, are you thinking about the big picture all the time, or do you really just narrow in and focus on one book at a time?
Oh, one book at a time.
Really?
That's why my series are so irregular and strange. I've never mapped out a whole series in advance. I wouldn't even know how to do that.
Oh, and I was reading the introduction of The Claiming of Sleeping Beauty, and you said you give yourself away when you write your erotica. You're sort of telling the world your fantasies. And this is a little bit of an impertinent question, but because of the lesbianism in The Claiming of Sleeping Beauty, have you ever had lesbian experiences or a lesbian relationship?
No, I never have, but I'm certainly open to the possibility. I was married for 41 years to one man, and it was a great love affair. He died in 2002. I'm not an experienced person, except in having that great love affair that lasted 41 years. But I'm completely open, completely open. I set out in the Sleeping Beauty books to write about what people call S&M and bondage, and to say they can be playful. They don't have to involve literal violence or suffering or death or decay. You can just do these things and have it be fun. This fantasy can be fun.
Right.
And I think the books did succeed for many, many readers. They have for a long time. They've been around over 20 years, I think.
And I hear you were recently back in New Orleans for the first time since Katrina for the Lestat Ball. What was that experience like?
Oh, it was wonderful. I found the French Quarter to be as vital and beautiful as it ever was.
Really?
And I went to the ball for the first time in 8 years. And I saw many, many people in wonderful costumes. It's a great thing that the fan club did. It's Lestat's fan club, by the way, not mine. Right. But they kept this thing going. And it's really world famous now. And people do come from all over the world, and they put a lot of effort into their costumes. And of course, New Orleans is the perfect place for this because of the Mardi Gras tradition,
right,
which is so pervasive there.
You're now living in California, and that's where the Wolf Gift Chronicles is set. Do you find California as inspiring as your beloved New Orleans, where so much of your earlier work was set?
Well, I do. I do. I'm a person who's always thrived on travel and novelty, and I write about many different cities and places. And I really enjoyed putting this Wolf Gift novel and you know, the Wolf Gift Chronicles now that it's going to be. I enjoyed very much putting that in Northern California and exploring the kind of gothic, haunted quality of redwood forests, right, and the windy coast, and how much it's like the English coast where so many ghost stories are set. I really felt a great desire to do that, and I hadn't done it before. I want to bring my southern sensibility to California, kind of, you know.
The past 5 years, I feel like vampires have just exploded in the mainstream. Do you feel like the commercialization of vampire stories has taken away from the magic and the mystery at all?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's all great. You know, the main thing about the creative marketplace is that it's open all the time, anytime, for somebody to come along and do something new with an old theme. You know, nothing is ever done. Nothing is ever finished. Somebody could come along right now and write an incredible Western 19th century vampire novel that would knock everybody's socks off.
Right.
That's always a possibility. You know, we can't think about fads. We can't think about a subject being overdone. We just have to do our own thing. Now, of course, we have to deal with the reality of publishing in Hollywood thinking these subjects are overdone, but they'll always wake up for a successful writer.
So Margon in the book, when he's quoted as saying, when talking about George R.R. Martin, C.S. Lewis, and Tolkien, he says, "They are marvelously inventive and ingenious, and even godly in the way they rule their imaginative worlds." Do you see yourself as godly?
I hope so. I want to, you know, Tolstoy said that the measure of a writer is the compassion he shows to his created characters, and I hope I show compassion to my created characters.
In the Wolf Gift Chronicles, it's called the Chrism, it's immortality, and it's what makes you a werewolf. If it was offered to you, would you take it?
Absolutely. I couldn't resist it.
So quickly. See, I've been asking myself this question, and I don't think I could.
That's because you're very young. Think about what it means to live forever, to be ageless, that you'll be around in 100 years to see how everything works out. You know, life is better than death. As far as we know.
As far as we know. True, true, true. Thank you so much for talking to me, Anne Rice.
Thank you.
Amazing.
I enjoyed it very much.
Good.